and welcome to the Cloud Gaming Report. I'm Zach, and in this episode we're going to kick off by discussing the new games that have just been launched on the GeForce Now platform as officially supported titles. Following that, we're going to talk about how NVIDIA is changing the way that Blizzard games are going to be played on the platform. And finally, we're going to wrap up by talking about the new Xbox All Access program, or the subscription, and kind of how that compares to cloud gaming. It does look like hardware is going to kind of follow the path that software has forged with going to subscriptions. So there are, of course, upsides and downsides to that. But I'm going to discuss that and kind of how that kind of compares to cloud gaming, even though the Xbox All Access doesn't directly correlate to cloud gaming. I just want to talk about that because it is a different way to get access to gaming hardware via subscription, very similar to what we're doing with cloud gaming. So guys, let's go ahead and kick off by talking about the new games that have just launched on the GeForce Now platform as officially supported titles. So for that, I'm going to need my tablet because it's a rather lengthy list and I have not committed all these titles to memory. So the first title, of course, is going to be F1 2018, AO International Tennis, Armello, Guacamelee 2, Papers, Please, Sonic Mania, Tricky Towers, Trove, and Shenmue 1 and 2. And I might have mispronounced that last title, or that last pair of titles incorrectly, but we can see here quite a few games have been added to the GeForce Now platform. None of these titles were really recognizable to me, but I am not too in-depth into the new release cycle. A lot of times I just play games that my friends suggest to me, or somebody, my acquaintances or people that I play with online suggest to me, and I don't like go out and gather gaming news directly anymore about new titles for the most part, unless it's like a series that I am passionate about from back from my childhood, like Halo. I still follow up on Halo news and stuff like that, just generally simply because it's a title that I was hooked into a long time ago and it's an ongoing series. But for the most part, I don't follow up with new releases a lot, so some of these games might be less obscure games and are just haven't been suggested to me from my friends or something along those lines. But it does look like indie games are getting a lot of love, at least from the couple of games that I looked up and kind of followed up a little bit on. So that is something that is important though, because as cloud gaming gets bigger and bigger and GeForce Now itself gets bigger, and I do think GeForce Now is going to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, cloud gaming provider for a couple of quick reasons. The first of which is they have the weight of NVIDIA behind them. NVIDIA is like the biggest GPU maker in the world, so that's a lot of weight to throw behind a cloud gaming platform, because the GPU is going to be, for the most part, the most expensive part of your cloud gaming hardware, especially since NVIDIA has said that they can't use like the consumer grade GTX cards, the 1080s. They have to use the Quadro equivalents, which are much more expensive versions of the consumer-based hardware. So with that in mind, the GPU is a huge part of the investment in the hardware side of cloud gaming. So with the weight of NVIDIA behind GeForce Now, there's a lot of power and equity in terms of how much money they can invest into their cloud gaming hardware. So that's one huge reason why I think GeForce Now, of course, is going to be one of the biggest players, if not the biggest. And of course, it's one of the easiest to use platforms. You simply launch games straight from the home screen, which that's kind of changing with Blizzard here in topic number 2. But for the most part, it's super easy to launch games. And the third, of course, is they have very powerful hardware. So with all those things considered, it definitely is shaping up to be a very strong option on the market. It's going to be very interesting to see kind of how things shape up once they actually start charging for the service and how much it'll actually cost compared to other options out there on the market. So with all that said, in the future, and I'm not talking about 1 year, 2 years from now, I'm talking about maybe 5 years from now when cloud gaming is much more mainstream, having a game not officially supported on the GeForce Now platform, I think is going to be a bigger issue, because I do think that will start to influence people's purchasing decisions on what games they're going to buy. And if GeForce Now is the dominant cloud gaming provider, or one of the dominant cloud gaming providers, not having your game on there is going to be akin to not having a game on Steam, where the majority of people still purchase their digital games. So with all that being said, it is good to see them continue to support indie developers. They still have a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of games on Steam that aren't officially supported. A lot of those you can kind of install still and they'll run fine. But it would be nice to see the official support continue to roll out for more and more games. And of course, they have other platforms out there that they really need support, such as Origin from EA, the Origin Access, or the Origin Premier, or whatever it's called, the new plan that you can pay $15 per month and get access to brand new EA games. That'd be awesome to take advantage of on the GeForce Now platform. So they definitely still have a lot of work to do, but it is good to see them continuing to roll out new games as officially supported titles. So moving on from there, we have the changes that NVIDIA is making to how Blizzard games are played on the GeForce Now platform. There isn't a lot of explanation or, a reason why this change had to be made. I know in the past you could launch Overwatch, for instance. It's about the only NVIDIA or Blizzard game that I have tested on the GeForce Now platform at this point in time, and I haven't made a video on it because I was working on it, and then life got hectic. And but anyways, I've got back, and I'm trying to get back into the groove of producing videos. But I have played Overwatch before on the platform, and it worked flawless. But it sounds like for some reason they're changing where games from Blizzard won't appear on your home screen anymore, whereas a game icon, you'll have to launch the battle.net launcher. And I think I haven't had a chance to play around with this, but I think it's going to have work like Steam if you want to install a game that isn't officially supported, where you click on the top right and you launch the Steam program. I think you have to launch battle.net directly, and then you can launch games like Overwatch. So previously when you would launch Overwatch, it would still kind of launch battle.net and you still had to hit play. So I don't know exactly why this change is really required. If it's something that Blizzard is mandating for NVIDIA to have official support for Blizzard games on the GeForce Now platform, or what exactly brought this move. I never had a problem launching Overwatch, but I also didn't play Overwatch on a daily basis. So maybe there were issues with launching Blizzard games directly from the app icon. I don't really know what the reason is, simply because NVIDIA hasn't really told us anything and why this change was really required. This also doesn't tell us if Blizzard is now officially supporting playing cloud games on the GeForce Now platform, because they have changed their EULA, the end user license agreement, to state that playing Blizzard games on cloud gaming hardware is against their terms of service or their end user license agreement. And people have been banned from playing Overwatch not Overwatch, but Blizzard games such as Overwatch on different cloud gaming providers. So it's not clear if this move is made to have Blizzard officially sanction playing on GeForce Now. There simply isn't a lot of news about this topic, so we're still kind of up in the air on it, whether you might get your account banned or not. I did plan on testing that extensively by playing Overwatch on a more regular basis and seeing if I got my account banned. So just to see kind of how that whole system works, if it's something that you actually get reported, and if it's that case, I probably won't get reported, simply because people think that his performance is so bad, he can't be using an aimbot because he's always missing. But anyways, I digress there again. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds. But at this point in time now, it'll be a little less easy to launch games from Blizzard on the GeForce Now platform. Alright, so moving on to our final topic, we have the Xbox All Access subscription, and I wanted to give you guys some preliminary information in case you haven't heard about this or haven't read too in depth about it. So for $22 per month, you get an Xbox One console, which is the Xbox One S, and you get Xbox Live and Xbox Game Pass. For $35 per month, the same cost as our Shadow Cloud Gaming subscription, you get an Xbox One X with the Xbox Live and Xbox Game Pass subscriptions. So this is an interesting move by Microsoft. There are two heavy restrictions, the first of which is the fact that you must go to a Microsoft store, which is going to be difficult for a lot of people simply because there aren't a lot of Microsoft stores around, and there are states that don't even have a single store. So this will be somewhat hard to take advantage of if you are interested in this subscription. And the second of which, of course, is that this offer ends at the end of the year. So that leads into the next comment that I have, whether this is simply a marketing plan by Microsoft to push more Xbox consoles for the holiday season, or if there's more to it than that. This could actually be a double-edged marketing plan for Microsoft to test the grounds for selling Xbox hardware via subscriptions in the future. We have the new generation of Xbox consoles coming, a lot of people think, in 2020. So it'll be interesting to see if those are going to be available from the gate via subscription, if this is simply a trial for that, so Microsoft can learn how people adopt this subscription, how many people adopt it, how well it does, how well people make their payments over a period of time, because your 2-year subscription would essentially end at the time that the new consoles will be launching in 2020, which are expected to launch for the holiday season of 2020. So depending on exactly when you take advantage of this, your subscription will be getting close to being over, or at the very least, they'll have about a year and a half of good data to go on for the next generation of Xbox hardware. And we do know that the Xbox is going, or Microsoft is going to be launching a cloud version of their Xbox in the next generation, or at least that is very heavily rumored. There's a lot of very solid rumors on that. So it'll be interesting to see how well it goes, whether it's just simply going to be the cloud hardware that's sold via subscription or rented via subscription, because with the cloud hardware, you don't actually get to keep the hardware at the end of your agreement like you do with the Xbox All Access, which I didn't exactly specify, but at the end of 2 years, you actually get to keep your Xbox console that you purchased, either the S or the X, and your subscription technically ends. You can continue to subscribe separately to the Xbox Live and Xbox Game Pass, which is going to cost $60 for the Xbox Live annual subscription and $10 per month for Xbox Game Pass. So your subscription on a monthly basis would be reduced quite heavily after that 2-year period if you wanted to continue on with both of those services. So with all that being said, this is definitely a very interesting move by Microsoft. If it is a move to test the waters for selling Xbox consoles in the future via a subscription plan, this will be quite interesting if both the cloud version and the on-premise version or the physical version of the Xbox console will be sold via subscriptions. And it definitely is an interesting way to think about hardware, because a lot of software has made the move to subscriptions. I don't think you can get most Adobe software via a perpetual license where you buy it once and have it forever, like you have the 2019 version of Adobe software forever. I don't believe you can buy it except for Adobe Acrobat. I think that's about the only one you can buy a subscription or a non-subscription to. I think everything else, if you want the newest version of Photoshop, I believe you have to buy the subscription for it straight from Adobe. And I know a lot of other software, such as Autodesk software that we use at work for our 3D CAD programs, that's all moved to subscription. So we see a lot of software making the move to subscription. Microsoft is already pushing quite heavily with subscription with their software, with the Xbox or with the Office 365 subscription for both business and homes. So we see a lot of that, a lot of people moving to the subscription of those software, and they do offer the perpetual license for, Office 2016 versus Office 365, but there are a lot of benefits to subscription, and there are downsides to subscription in software. But it's interesting to see hardware make that move, and that's essentially with cloud gaming. We're essentially renting gaming hardware in the cloud with our subscription. So it's interesting to see consoles kind of follow that suit, and it's going to be interesting to see if this is simply just that marketing plan by Microsoft to push more consoles this generation, or for this holiday season more specifically, or if this is going to be, if there's more to it to that, and this is going to be how gaming hardware is going to be sold in the future. Because with cloud gaming being based on the subscription, I definitely think that more and more people are going to start adopting that, and especially as it goes more mainstream, as the internet connections across the US do continue to rise, which is happening at a very slow pace. Especially if you're in a rural area and you're waiting for faster internet and you've had the same plan for 10 years. It's very agonizing waiting for better internet connections. It'll be very, very, very interesting to see how 5G might change how well cloud gaming can go mainstream. So a lot of stuff on the horizons that we're going to have to see, and could very well propel cloud gaming to be the normal way that people will get hardware rather than having hardware physically in their house. So all being said, it is an interesting topic, and I wanted to bring it up because it is a subscription way to get gaming hardware now outside of cloud gaming. So thanks for watching this week's episode, guys. I hope you guys found the topics here interesting. Please leave any feedback in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, or hit me up on Twitter if you're listening on the podcast app, because I don't know how comments exactly work on the podcast, because haven't been creating podcasts forever. I think I'd have to have every single app out there to read the comments. I don't think those are aggregated in any single way. So the best way to hit me up if you're listening to the podcast version of this is to just hit me up on Twitter, and I usually respond back somewhat quickly. I don't check Twitter every single day, but I do try to check it fairly regularly. So once again, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And until next time, Zach out.